Hello there, everyone. This is Chris with Peace of Mind Art and Crafts, and today I'm going to show you my my flea market finds, and then we're going to make a file folder, a decorated file folder. And I did one of these last year on my channel, and it turned out well. I really love these things, the file folders, for just holding all kinds of stuff. One piece that I got last year was an apron. This is the top of the apron, the strings. And then basically the reason I bought it was because of these pleats here on the edge. This is all sewn by machine, but you can tell it's very old, probably from the 20s or the 30s. But it had this piece of really beautiful lace on the bottom as well that I'm going to use on some of my work. And I also found more recently at a flea market this table runner, and I plan on using this. This has it might have been like a dresser scarf too. I think that long ago that's what they used them for. They put them all on a dresser, and it has the basket, and you can tell that it's all been hand embroidered. Beautiful on the back as well, and it has the multicolored trim on it. That's also quite beautiful. This is probably more recent, maybe from the 50s or 60s, or possibly even 70s. I also found these pieces of fabric that had been what we would now call slow stitched, and it looks like they took pieces of fabric and cut out the bodies of the little girls, and then slow stitch around them with black thread, and it's done by hand. I found these at a flea market that I went to here recently. And another thing that I found that I was really excited about is this collar. They used to, wear a lot of the same clothes all the time. In order to change the look of them, they dressed it up with a collar sometimes. And this one's beautiful. It has the crochet, and then it has crocheted roses on the bottom. So I thought that was really beautiful. So of course I had to have it. And it really was quite a good price. It was $10. It has varying colors of thread. It looks like it was started with the this beige color, and they got around to here and they didn't have quite enough of it, so they finished it off with the ivory. So see how it goes from the beige to the ivory. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then they finished off the bottom part with the white, more the ivory color crochet. And this was done by hand as well. I don't know how old it is. I really couldn't say. I don't know when they stopped making these. Have a couple of crocheted doilies. This one had some spots on it. So I think I was able to get this one at $3. And this one's more intricate. And I got that for $3. Or $4, excuse me. $4 for this one and $3 for this one. So we'll get started on our project for today. which is going to be the file folder. And I have gotten some things together that I want to use on it. I'm going to use this slow stitch heart that I had just finished making. And I also want to use one of these Tim Holtz frames. I'm not quite sure yet which one. I got a package of them, and they came in a package of, I believe, 6. Yes, 6 pieces. And they're ivory, which is kind of cool. So I think I've kind of picked this one, but I'm not sure yet, and I'm not sure what photograph I'm going to put underneath there. This video / tutorial will probably be maybe at least 2 parts, maybe 3. So we'll see how it's going. The first, get this out. The first thing I did, this is the size file folder I'm going to be making the project out of. And what I did was I took my this is just a regular size file folder to hold a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I used my homemade Mod Podge stain, and I'll describe how to make that. And I sponged that onto the whole the folder. I opened it out. I did cut off the top of this, and then I cut off the top part of another folder the same size, and I'm going to use this to attach, and then it will be a fold over onto the front like this, and that's where I'm going to put lace and use some of this crochet and lace that I just showed you. This may fit on here just fine. I have to cover over it a little bit, but not bad. We'll see how that goes. Might be this smaller one. Just have to audition whatever and see how it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is you can either coffee or tea dye your file folder. You can leave it blank like it is, or you can coffee or tea dye it, or you can do what I did, which is I kind of brushed it with a stain Mod Podge, and that kind of gives it a sort of a feel like leather. It's not really, doesn't really look like leather, but kind of feels like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did that. I use a sponge brush. And I have here some smaller pieces that I'm going to show you on, and I'm going to also use these as file folders later on. What I've done is I measured up about a 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch up from where this overlaps, and I scored it along there so that when I fold it, it still gives it a little bit of room in between here so that you can easily get something in and out of it. Same here. On this one it's a little smaller. This actually was one file folder. You can see the whole entire thing there. Let's go ahead and do a Mod Podge this smaller one. What I'm going to do is I don't really need to do the inside of it. I could like burnish the edges of it also after we're done, with some ink, and see how that goes. But this is the outside part of it. I'm going to take my Mod Podge stain, which I have made with about half Mod Podge and about 2/3 Mod Podge and about 1/3 of a paint. And I used an acrylic paint to tint it. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I used a stain. I'll show you the stain that I used. I used one of the Distress oxide stains. The color is Vintage Photo. And I put about 1/3 of that to 2/3 of Mod Podge. And then I added a little bit of water at a time until I got it the consistency that I wanted it. And you can test that out on some pieces of cardstock. And I would recommend using this on a thicker, like a cardstock, or maybe a thicker scrapbooking paper. You can try it on a piece of copy paper. If you do it on a piece of copy paper, you might need to like weigh it down afterwards to make sure that it lays really flat after it's dry. And leave the weight on the book on there or whatever for about 24 hours to flatten it out a bit. Basically, what I do is I shake this up. I spread some out onto whatever I'm wanting to stain. And I take my sponge brush. I just keep my sponge brush from time to time in one of these plastic sacks, and it'll stay moist in there for a few days before it starts drying out. I hate to wash out Mod Podge because it always feels like I'm putting that glue down the drain, and I don't like to do that. So I just use it until it's been used for quite a while, and use the sponge brush, and then I just throw it away. I'm going to have a drink of water here. Excuse me for a minute. Go. And I continue to add this to the rest of it. Now you'll notice it kind of does, it will pool up in places, and sometimes I kind of like that look, so I let it do that. And like I said, after this dries, then you can add some inking to the sides of it. I'll show you that on the other one. Before our next video, I'll try to work ahead a little bit and show you one that's finished, one of these smaller ones that's finished, so that as we go into making the bigger one, that you'll be able to see kind of what they look like. Okay, then I've got that covered. I'm going to put that down to dry on a piece of waxed paper, like I have here. Okay, I'm going to put my brush away so I can use it later. Try to get all the air out of the bag that I can. And that's a great way to store it till later. Also, grab a paper towel and clean out the top of the Mod Podge. I'm just folding this over because some of this Mod Podge on here is still wet, but I still want to use it. Okay, let me grab my file folder, which is dry. Let me just show you on here what it looks like when you ink it up a bit. We're expecting another snowstorm here in the Denver area. Had a big one last week. We got about 16 inches. We got about 16 inches, but in other parts of Denver and north of here, because we're in the south part, they got like upwards of 24, 25 inches. So we're not really in a mood for it anymore right now. But we're going to get some. The thing about it in the spring, though, is that it disappears fairly quickly. I'm just kind of making the edges of this just a little bit darker in place spots. And around on the back part. Now you can, if you want, and I did on my first video, you can have your flap just be a piece of fabric or a piece of lace. This time I made a flap that's going to go on the back, and it's gonna come up and over the top here. So I'm also gonna give that a little. This will be on the inside, so it probably won't show as much, but I'm still gonna brush it with some ink. You can also make these file folders out of cardstock paper that's not actually a file folder. I just like to use a file folder because they're just the right consistency, I think. And I get them at the dollar store. You can get like 8 for $1, I think. So that's a pretty good buy. Or a lot of people have ones that they've, that they have in their files that they've no longer used, since we've gone to a lot of things filed on the computer now. We don't use these as often, so if you have some old ones, those would be really cool. Those old green ones that have the metal, they have like a metal rod in the bottom part of them. You could take that, or excuse me, on the top part to hang over the file folder. Those are cool too. You could take those metal rods out of there and use them as to use for your journaling. Oh, kind of like that. I'll put that aside for now. See if I can connect these two. I have this piece of paper that I could use. This is actually from an envelope, a manila envelope. Could use that. I think I might try to use a strip of muslin. See if I can get one cut long enough. There we go. See if it's more even on this side. Yeah, it is. It's been torn on this side, so just kind of keep in mind how much you want. And I always tear fabric, mainly because I like the ravelly edges, but also then you don't have to measure anything, because usually you can get it straight, a straight piece when you tear it. And that's how they do it in the quilt shops. A lot of times they'll tear the fabric instead of cutting it. Okay. What I do, and this is kind of a little hint, is I buy like a yard. When I'm at the fabric store, I buy like a yard of muslin, because I use it for so many different things. I use it for the backing of my slow stitched and my conversation hearts, and I use it for the base for slow stitching There's just so many different things. You can use it for binding when you're making a journal. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do this. This is kind of a experiment for me as well. Okay, so this is the back. And this is the back of the file folder. So I want to cut it just a little bit bigger. You can always cut off the edges if you don't need them. Sometimes I like that hanging out. I'll just have to see how it looks. Okay. Then I am going to use fabric tack. As always, sometimes my my video will end before I'm finished, and what I do is I just join two videos together, so if I stop, then I'll start right back up again. Let's see, and to determine how wide I want to make this, I'll just put it here. Have that little bead come out. Get along there. Back up here. Okay, and my cap back on there for a minute. Okay, so, and this muslin you can kind of easily see through it, so I can see if I'm bored of getting it on there straight. And I can always turn it to the other side, and I'm better able to see if I got it on there straight, and kind of pull it up a little bit. Okay, and now what I want is I want this to come, to be glued down here. I'm going to leave a gap. I need to leave a gap between the two, like you do in the binding, because you need a place for it to fold. See how there's a gap between those? So I'm going to do that. Make a bit of, you know, you can use it. It can be a pretty hefty gap. Maybe make your gap about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to put my fabric tack. This time I'm going to put my fabric tack on the fabric. And I'm going to make sure I'm getting this on the right way. Yeah. Okay. Have it come out about 1/4 of an inch. Make sure I have it on there as straight as I can get it, and making sure these ends match up. Just before it dries completely, and while I can still sort of maneuver it around a little bit if I want to, I'm going to see how it folds over there, and it does. It folds over there very nicely. Okay. I left this part of the file folder where it comes up. I left that on there. I don't know, just because I kind of like it. I kind of like it there. So maybe I can put a topic on there or something. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to design what I want here in the front of the folder. This folder is going to be sewn, or you can, if you don't want to sew it, then you can glue it right inside this line here. When you sew it, if you do sew it, what I would do is I would wait until you got the lace and stuff up on the top here, which you wanted, and then opened it out and like start at the bottom and then sew all the way up and around. Make sure this is open and not down like this, because you don't want to sew the flap shut. Excuse me. There we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I can start auditioning things that I want on here. Might start with this one since it has the stain on it, so I can kind of cut around the stains when I want to. And this can go on to the back as well, but I don't think it's gonna, I'm going to put it quite all the way on the back. I think what I might do is I might cover this with some lace, also just some regular lace that comes on a roll. Somewhere. Okay. I also have this tool that I like that's kind of transparent. That might look pretty as well. I have some white lace and some more like ivory. I should try to stick with the ivory more than that. Ooh, that's actually, this is pretty by itself. I just like it. But I think I like the crochet better. Let me cut some of this. I don't worry too much about getting this exact. I like kind of the tattered look of it. I'm cutting off this top edge where it's ruffled so that this is straighter. Okay. I don't know about that tool yet. I might think about that. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this on the whole thing or if I'm just going to put it on part of it. I'm just keeping what I call auditioning things. I like to do that because then you make sure you get it like you want it. Okay, why don't we do that? Go ahead and glue this lace down, and I'm going to use fabric tack for that. And I'm gluing it so that it sets down a little ways from the on the bottom of the flap. I'm looking for my paper towels again, which I'm sure are on the floor. Yep, they are. And this helps to kind of blot out some of the excess that's on there. And it's okay if this hangs over a little bit on the side. And then like this light lace scrap I'll save, use that later for something. Okay, now let's decide where I want this. Getting those little sequins off, which are pretty, but okay. I like that coming over there. Let's see how far down I want it. What I think I'll do is I'll glue this down first, and then I'll see how I want it on the back. I'll glue this down first. And I'll take my fabric tack. Gonna start down here. And in order not to get too much on there, I'm just going to kind of blot it down. Now that I have it down there, I'm going to put some on this area. Put it down. Okay, after this is dry, then I can go back and tack down any of these areas that I think might need some more hold on them. Actually, I can see this one right here doesn't have anything, so I'm going to put just a little dab right there on that area. And then up here towards the top. And on the top over here. Okay, so I've got that on the front where I want it. Now I have to decide how far in the back it's going to go. And I can do the whole thing if I want to, but I don't know yet. Let me check how it looks on the front. There, I think that looks good. Of course, this will need something else over here, which is fine. Make sure you don't always kind of check and make sure you're not gluing your pieces together. After you glue something down, then check it out. Okay, then I'm just going to turn this over because I want to see how this looks on the back. I'm going to turn this over and try to get it flat. Okay, I think I like that all on there on the back, but I think it's kind of a waste of it, really. So I think what I'll do is I will take it down just to the part of where the muslin join here is. I'll take it down that far, maybe a little bit farther. And cut that off. I may get some raveling on this crochet piece, but that's alright. I'm not using it for what it's intended. I'm just using it to decorate this piece. And that still looks nice on the back there. I still like that. And then I still have this piece for use on something else. Okay, so I'm going to tack this piece down. It goes a little bit out from that muslin area. Blot up that excess glue just so that it won't show in the back when it's dry, or it won't show as much. Because this stuff has a tendency, this fabric tack has a tendency to get strings also. Not quite as bad as hot glue, but check it out. That looks pretty good. If I can get the glue off a little bit here and there. Okay. Oh, I still have this piece I could use for something on this. I don't know. I think I'm gonna stop on this for a minute or so and see what, start working on maybe what I might want down here on this area. Usually I don't put too much on the back. Sometimes I put some flat, like some pictures or something, or some embellishments that I have made already. Now I had said in the beginning of this video that I probably was going to use a frame, and then this slow stitch heart. I don't know if I want to use both or not. Actually, this might look kind of pretty there on the flap. Keep that in mind for a minute. Let me know what you think. Now, as far as what to put in the frame, I'm thinking maybe embroidery of some kind. I don't know if I want to cut up my, I don't want to cut up this embroidery yet or not. Just kind of audition this and see what we've got here. Or let's try a photograph. I know I had one in here somewhere. There it is. But that's too small, but just to try it to see if that's something like that will work. Yeah, I kind of like that. And I have photographs such as this, like from Artie Mays, of different women. So I think that's coming along pretty good so far. So I'll let you go for now, and we'll come back on the next video and talk about how we're going to continue on this, and we'll just try different options. So I wish you all peace of mind. Thanks for joining me today. Bye now.